Hi, this is the day 12 Daily Spark question. Where do I grant authority to my thoughts without questioning the conditions under which they arise? Where do I grant authority to my thoughts without questioning the conditions under which they arise? Granting authority to thoughts means I take them to be true and that they're leading the way. So yeah, taking them to be true and authoritative, meaning there's no other option besides what that thought is saying. That's what to me authority means, and me granting authority means I think that's true, I think that's correct, that thought, and I give it power over me. So where do I do that without questioning the conditions under which those thoughts arise? Ooh, that's a good one. I'm freezing. I have some tea here. That's a really good one because I would think that's hard to answer, because in those moments where I'm granting authority to thoughts, I'm not so self-aware that I otherwise would be when I'm not granting authority to thoughts. So that's hard. I think some of these questions are like that. I think they're designed to be challenging. I know because I helped design them, but it's because I wanted to break my mind open, like break my brain, and it's doing it. So the time, like, when do I follow my thoughts as if they're true and have power over me without questioning how those thoughts even got there in that moment? That's the conditions under which they arise. There are a lot. I think a lot of them have to do with hold on. I need a moment. I'm gonna take a sip of tea too. I was only gone a second to take a sip, and one came to me. This is a really good example because I was about to say, well, usually it has to do with family for me, because that's some old conditioning. That's really old, very reactive, very like repeating behavioral patterns that for the role or roles that I'm playing and expected to play in my family, that's just such a quick reaction that a thought comes, I believe it, it's true, and then it's taking me away with it because it has power over me. I've granted it power over me because of such deep old conditioning. So there tend to be familial, family related. There's a really recent one. My mom got put back in the hospital because she's had health issues. Well, she once again let a condition escalate and was sent to the ER. And she's fine. She's getting released. So, which is why I'm not there, because she's doing the paperwork. She's on her way home. So that this last week has been another round of, like, in my life, I'm like, wow, things are clicking along already this year. Whee! And then, you know how the universe works. It's like, but there are some unresolved things that are going to keep coming back around with regards to your family. Well, it's been hard, and today I had a whole cry sesh about it because like I went into the source, like into the ick of it all, and it was cathartic. It was a release. There have been many, and I'm sure there will be many more, because I am 48 years old and I've been with these people 48 years. So this goes deep, and it's more about, in this case, me gaining some sense of humility through this process, because that's one of my lessons, and relinquishing any control and really going into my felt sense of helplessness. And that's where I landed today. It was like, well, not really landed. I guess I just went into the helplessness, because up to that point, my thoughts were like the same old conditioned thoughts. I thought that I could do something about this, that I could say something that would influence, like, because my thoughts were telling me, you're thinking clearly, you might have some good ideas, and your mom might need to hear these things, and this doctor might need to hear those things, and you could probably like figure this out so that that we get answers and that this won't happen again, because everyone's gonna behave. We're talking family. No. So I stopped, and I did, like, funny enough, it was today, I questioned the conditions under which those thoughts were arising, and I was like, when you hit your breaking point, you've exhausted, like, that's what I mean by breaking point, your bottom, whatever, you've exhausted the energy. Like, I felt so depleted this time around with it. Like, I was just so depleted, like, energetically, to deal with this again. And so that's when I knew, oh, okay, because I wasn't exhausted going into this, but that's when I knew something's got to give. It's me, because I'm the problem here, thinking all those thoughts I said, like, this person needs to hear this, and I've got the clarity here. And so then I'm like, but I don't really feel that way. I just felt so frustrated, that sense of helplessness, like my hands are tied. I really have no control here. These are a whole bunch of different people involved in this confusing mess of a situation where all I really do is just love my mom and want her to be healthy. That's what it all comes down to. And it's so frustrating because it's not that way. And a whole bunch of other issues with healthcare and I have a whole bunch of, stored up, pent up frustrations with our system. So it's like, it's just a hurricane of a mess of a situation in my mind. So because of that, and because of the helplessness I felt, I was like, because I was able in this moment today to name it. When I stopped and questioned the conditions, I was like, oh man, here we go again. And I know, like, from other things I've done, like with this healing journey I'm on, like when I, self-inquiry, whatever you want to call it, that when I felt this sense of exhaustion, I knew, oh, that's the feeling of, I want to give up control, this perceived control, because it's zapping me. To think I have control and to try to put effort into it, it zaps me, because I know I don't have control. I don't have control over anything. So why keep doing that? The mind thing that says, oh, figure it out, and what can you say to, like, influence the situation? And it's like, you know what? Just let go. Let go. I've already had the heartfelt conversations with my mom, trying to see, like, I've already, like, dialed some levers, like, with the dog, like, changing, seeing if her meds can get changed. Like, I've done all the practical things that I feel like I could do to get to be proactive and not have regrets later to say, what should I have done? What could I have done? So I feel like I put a lot of, like, practical use of this thing in a useful way and a non-harmful way. Then my mind went crazy with, like, all the other things, like trying to control this situation, prevent it from happening again. And it was seeming like maybe those are harmful thoughts to be having. Like, who comes out on top here? Who has benefited from all of this, like, wrangling, controlling type of thoughts? I don't think anybody. So I thought, what I did think is like, okay, if I'm so exhausted, if I'm so depleted by this, like this felt sense of helplessness, then what could be different here? Could it look different? Could I think differently? Could I behave differently? Could I just flip a switch and like still have all the love, all the love? I'm not turning off the love. I don't want to flip that switch. Not that I could. But it's like, how could it look different? How could the love that's bubbling up here and kind of create, fueling the frustration of like, I want to do something, I'm so helpless, and I love them so much. And then it's like, well, what could that love do instead? So I just said, okay, let go. Went into the helplessness, cried, because that needed to happen. And then I felt like, okay, things can feel different, they can look different. And then all the things I had queued up to say, I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I went into myself instead of projecting outward all my frustrated helplessness, because then I get a message that says, all is well and I'm getting released. Discharged from the hospital. Whereas we thought she was going to be in at least another couple days, and that fueled more frustration. So I was like, thank you, universe. Lesson learned, I think, for now. So this was a real life example, very recent, within hours of this question being asked. Like, I granted so much authority over the thoughts that said, you're the one who has all the answers. Oh my God, talk about ego. But in the moment, before I went into the helplessness, before I named that emotion, first of all, naming it is what set it off. Naming for me is so powerful. Before I named it, I was just stewing in the helplessness and granting authority to every thought. That was such an ego trip in hindsight. And I saw it after naming the helplessness. It was like, oh shit, it was all ego. And then I felt the humility of like, oh man. And I say that word a lot lately because that is a very powerful feeling for me, to feel like, man, I oftentimes let my mind get the best of me. Like, I feel like it's a pretty sharp mind. I like my mind, but I think I let it feel, I think I'm too sharp sometimes for my own good. Man, talk about confessional. Because I love to think, and I love to do stuff with this brain. And then when it has an emotional problem, the brain just like something like turns into like a dragon and is like, oh, we're gonna figure this out because this emotion is hard. And then my brain is like really fires up to say, oh wait, we're gonna figure this out, and we're right. And and it's like, and all of that is to avoid feeling the truth of the emotions. Like, to avoid feeling helplessness was to fire up and say, we're gonna fix this so that everybody's happy, especially me. It's sad but true. And that's just it. See, that brings some more tears, because that is a very true thing. Like, when I'm not questioning the conditions under which those thoughts arise, the conditions were, I feel helpless, I feel frustrated. But if I didn't question that, I would have injected more chaos into the system, as I like to say. And then there would have been a lot of regretful feelings. Those feelings of like, I made my mom feel bad, pissed off her doctor, who is well known in this community and everybody loves him. And I think that's partly why it's so frustrating, is because of we live in a very folksy area where that goes a long ways to like building trust and connection. And I love that about here. But also, I think people get a little reliant on their capacity to be folksy to gain trust versus like, are you helping? What are you doing in your role as a physician? So anyway, that added to the frustratedness. And again, that's all my ego. He's a wonderful human being. But it's my ego saying, you're not doing enough. We need answers, blah, 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 blah. And out the other side of my mouth, it's like, but I know where responsibility lies for health. It's with the individual. It's not the doctor's fault. So no, I don't hold him accountable for that. But when we come with questions, I would like to, you don't even have to have the answer right now, but I would like to understand the plan. Because I love a good plan. And I am a consultant. The consulting 101 is, I don't know the answer, but I'll get back to you. There's never any getting back. So anyway, that was part of the frustration. Was like, I don't expect you to have answers, but let's have a plan. Because the responsibility lies not just with you, doctor. I totally get that. So anyway, that's where there's a lot of feelings, a lot of ego thoughts. I'm still having the ego thoughts. I still have the frustrations. I still feel helpless. And I'm so grateful that in that moment, before I injected more chaos, I did question the conditions under which those thoughts were arising. And oh yeah, we're all smart, aren't we? We know our conditioning. We know the thoughts that keep repeating, that take us, that we grant authority over. Like we know, and yet it continues to happen. And I'm hopeful that because I was able to name that and go into it and let go a little bit this time, that I hope they won't have the authority. I won't grant them the authority to that degree the next time. Oh, I'm sure they'll come back around. This goes deep. This goes far, wide, deep. And I have a feeling it's not our last go around with the old healthcare system and my mom. So I think I should stop talking because this isn't a therapy session. Thank you, doctor. But I'm curious, like, if you want to share, because there's so much here, where do you feel it? Where do you tend to grant authority to your thoughts? And I want to know, because I feel like it's hard to even identify. There's so many thoughts I'm probably having and granting authority, but I'm not self-aware enough to see them. And only because I'd hit a breaking point did I see those that I talked about, because I hit that exhaustion when an energy exhausts itself and then you surrender. But I've probably not surrendered a whole bunch of garbage that I probably need to. So yeah, I recognize I think it's challenging to identify this, which is exactly why I need this question. I hope you like it. Bye.